Welcome to the Lincoln Parish Museum and Historical Society's Sounds Like Edison with Lawrence Gibbs and Museum Director Rick Godley. Each episode, Lawrence Gibbs will choose a song from the Lincoln Parish Museum's Edison collection of records, share some historical facts and information, as well as play each record on the original 1912 Edison Phonograph in the parlor of the Lincoln Parish Museum. Now sit back and enjoy the sounds from our time machine, a 1912 Edison A-250 Model Phonograph. Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. I am Rick Godley, the director of the Lincoln Parish Museum and Historical Society, as we are beginning our second renaissance of this beautiful mansion, if you will, the museum built in 1886, the Lincoln Parish Museum and Historical Society recovering from the COVID cacophony, and our future looks brighter than ever. So we have the opportunity to create a remarkable future. Back in June, Lawrence Gibbs, myself, started to explore this house as we started to clear the cobwebs out, and we went upstairs, and Lawrence goes, "Oh my God, will you look at that?" I had no idea what he was talking about.
Neither, and I didn't at the time. I didn't either.
You recognized this piece over our shoulder here. Why don't you tell the audience about what this is?
Okay. Well, when we got upstairs, I had never been upstairs in this house. It's beautiful. I've always loved this museum. Never got to see the upstairs. It's like Elvis, you just don't get to see it. But we got up there and I looked across the way and it looked like a Victrola. I thought it was a Victrola. I walked in and I said, "What do we got here?" And one of the videos, they'll be able to find it online. I opened up and said, "Edison." I went, "Oh my God." Edison had the benchmark sound of the day. All these other companies might have been a little bit earlier, but he invented the phonograph. And so, but he did not like the way they had it going at that time. He thought there was a better sound. And so I was stunned to see, they're very rare. There's only around 1,800 of this particular model that were made.
Manufactured. We don't know how many are in existence today.
Right. But this one is in near mint condition. And I was just amazed at that because it was the last thing I would expect.
So help me understand, we're upstairs and this is Thomas Edison Phonograph, 1912?
It was 1912.
1912.
It's a Model A-250, which was their top of the line model for big, large homes. And that's what this family had asked for, I guess. Doing some research on it, most of these units were delivered in huge trucks, and they would drive them all over the country, go to small towns and deliver all of these and set them up. And I don't know if this one was always upstairs or if it was downstairs. This seems to be the music room to me.
It's the parlor. It's perfect.
It is just a perfect place for the Edison to be. It's really, really interesting. In that video previous, I was, well, let's see if it works. And you click the button, and it worked amazing. It was a little fast, but it worked perfect.
Hold that thought. So we're exploring, and once again, just trying to see what's here, clear out the cobwebs, so to speak. Lawrence opens up the top. It's a Thomas Edison phonograph, 1912. How did you even know what to do with this? I won't touch this because I don't know the modus operandi.
I have seen various videos online there are others online of showing how they work, but most of them were the little tabletop models. And so I just used, it's similar to how we use DJ turntables now. Very simple. There's not a drop of electricity near it. It is strictly wound by a double spring motor, supposedly, and Edison created every bit of this. The amazing thing to me was that it has a unique sound, really true to life sound. In fact, it was legendary for that. But instead of grooves that wiggle like this, they were up and down, hill and dale. That gave a quieter tone and a more perfect tone, according to Edison. And I've never heard one before, so this was totally a new thing for me to discover.
I want to Lawrence picked a song. We're going to play one here in this first episode of Sounds Like Edison from inside the Lincoln Parish Museum and Historical Society. So he was all giddy, I was giddy, and so that was just like day one. But obviously Lawrence went home and he couldn't sleep that night. And because he came back the next morning and he said, Rick, I got to know something. And what was that?
When it's all about what is here. I didn't know how many records or if they had records here, and ended up finding there was over 150 discs. Now these discs are diamond discs, and there's a whole, we could do another whole show on how they were developed, but they're very, very well made, different than any of the discs that we knew as children, 78s or whatever. So they're in a class of their own, and there were over 150 of them that were in this machine.
Well, hold that thought too, because as he comes back, he says, I just got to know if there's more records up there, because there was one that was on the turntable. Well, in this museum, part of the treasure hunt for me, for whomever, there's a box of keys in the back, and I don't know where these keys belong, where they go, so I said, Lawrence, I don't know if I have the key to that. And lo and behold, I brought the whole box up, picked one out, and it was the one that opened it up. And inside was the 170 records.
Right.
And
both original keys are with this machine. And so it's just been a great discovery. You won't find, in my research, you just really will not find these unless they're in some kind of a very special phonograph museum or something like that. Not very many of these still exist.
I want to also extend the invitation for those who are watching this, that if you have ideas to bring to the table to create the second Renaissance of this beautiful place and space to create a remarkable future, because we're on the eve of the sesquicentennial of Lincoln Parish, that this is a nonprofit organization solely run and driven by volunteers who opt to get involved, and we're wide open for all sorts of ideas to bring as many people, as much awareness to this museum and to the gardens out back. And I say all that because Lawrence literally volunteered time cleaning up every disc, cleaning up
the machine
itself, and credit props to our friend Raymond Roberts, who he's mechanically inclined. And so you have this thing, and we're going to prove it in just a second.
Keep our fingers crossed.
Keep our fingers crossed.
It's only 110 years old.
It's only 110 years old. So, yeah, what are we going to do? We're going to do a record of show.
Okay. We're during the discovery portion of this, one of the first discs I pulled out of the machine was an old tune called Paddlin, Madelin Home. And Rick instantly, well, my daughter's name is Madeline, and so I said, well, that's a great sign for me. So found out that most of the discs in this collection are some of the rarest and most beloved of all of the Edison discs that were made from 1911, 12, all the way to 1929, the day before the big stock market crash in 1929, they ended business. But this particular disc is a very upbeat, and not a lot of Edison's music was so upbeat. But it was originally written in 1923 by a gentleman named Harry Woods, and he was a Tin Pan Alley songwriter. And he wrote Red, Red Robin Goes Bob, Bob, Bobbing Along, Side by Side, which is another famous song, and then I'm looking for a four-leaf clover. I'm looking over a four-leaf clover is what it is. And there are many, many more, let's say. So the group that is performing this, and Edison didn't care who performed his music. Most of the time he didn't put the name or anything on the disc. But this was a group called the Tennessee Happy Boys, And they were not from Tennessee. They were a group of New York studio musicians that played in Edison's studio. It's simply like a house band. But they were all very good. And a gentleman that was one of Edison's favorite vocalists, named Arthur Hall was his name. Now that was not his original name. It was a German name that I can't even pronounce. But as many Germans did when they came over before World War I, they changed their names to an Americanized name. And but he was a very fine pianist, and he was a very fine vocalist. So Arthur Hall was one of Edison's favorite vocalists. You'll find him on a lot of Edison discs. And so this was released in November of 1926. So I guess we could listen to some pop music from 1926.
All right, take us through the process, because you're fixing to not plug it in. What do you plan on doing?
Okay, well, these are wound by spring motors. It's already been wound up, and you just release the brake device, and it gets slowly up to tempo or speed, let's say. And I'll drop the diamond stylus, which many of us that are our age know what a stylus is. It's not a steel needle like we used to have. This is an actual diamond with a rounded bottom, and it is what tracks these grooves. And
Let's enjoy it.
All right.
Paddlin, Madelin Home from the Lincoln Parish Museum and Historical Society.
All right, we'll get it up to, and you drop it into the cue, and it'll find its little groove. And it'll play in a minute.
Madelin home here from the Lincoln Parish Museum and Historical Society. We're in the parlor. Lawrence Gibbs. And how many instruments? I mean, full orchestration on that. You're the maestro.
I think there are seven.
Seven.
3 saxophones, a trombone, and a trumpet, and then somebody actually playing banjo. I don't think there was somebody doing cymbals, and but that was about all. It's amazing.
It is.
They only got 3 chances to get it perfect when they were in the studio.
Well, think about that too. My mind's going. This is 1926, you say, and Edison came out in 1912. Electricity was just still a modern invention, right? I mean, how did they do the recording?
All of it was this way.
Straight to disc.
Straight to disc, acoustically.
Wow.
This was acoustic. It's amazingly clear that is so loud and full and live. So many stories coming up.
Well, there you have it, the first edition of Sounds Like Edison from the Lincoln Parish Museum, Parlor, the Lincoln Parish Museum and Historical Society. If you have any ideas, questions, or comments, please put them down below. We'll be happy to address them. Lawrence Gibbs is doing the research for us. And our next episode, would you want to tease them with Ave Maria?
Well, why not? We've got a famous opera singer that Edison preferred in his classical selections, and we have one of the most important ones that they ever released in 1921 was the actual release. And there's a great story around this disc, and it's in this collection of Schubert's Ave Maria by Marie Rappold, a Metropolitan opera singer.
That'll be episode number 2. We thank you so much for joining us and watching. Help us help more. Share the good news about the Lincoln Parish Museum and Historical Society's second Renaissance as we grow and we covet your ideas and your input. I'm Rick Godley. Lawrence Gibbs. We'll sound like Edison later. Thank you for watching the Lincoln Parish Museum and Historical Society's Sounds Like Edison with Lawrence Gibbs and Museum Director Rick Godley. Keep in mind, we're a nonprofit organization and we welcome your ideas, suggestions, as well as financial support to sustain our efforts to create a remarkable future as we embark on our second Renaissance. Our address is 609 North Vienna Street, Ruston, Louisiana, 71270. Kindly follow us on Facebook to keep connected for future events, exhibits, and educational opportunities about Lincoln Parish. Sounds Like Edison is a Godly Works production.